So, hello and welcome to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics podcast. And today we go ahead with the 48 Laws of Power. And this book is by, before I get to mention it, by, I don't know, 48 Laws of Power. This book is by, and while it's loading, I can tell you that it's again from the Deconstruction Excellence website, and the book is by oh my god, why is it so? By Robert Greene, or Green, or whatever. I would say Greene. And as the name itself says, it's about laws of power, and I think it's in terms of your whole life, which means that they're just life life tips, some sort of. And the last episode we made the law 1 and law 2, which is law 1, never outshine the master, and law 2, never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. And the second law, as I mentioned the last episode, is not something I would say that I'm really trusting in, some sort of. But we'll see what this episode gives us, and I hope that there will be much value for you and for me as well. And before I forget, I'm your host Christopher, and I'm a 17-year-old graphic design student from Austria. And now we can begin with the fourth law, which is with the third law, conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. And I also don't know what I should say about this, because it really seems, or it really sounds very, bad. And just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to sound right. It sounds kind of wrong, and I'll let it be it as it is, and you can decide for yourself if you can use it for any ways. But I have to say, I'm not sure about this. It's not something I would say, I guess. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe, I do not know much at all. But now we are going to head forward to the fourth law, which is always say less than necessary. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it woke, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. That's totally right, I think. And for me, it's also something I try not to say, and not to say too much, because then the chance is much higher for me to make mistakes. And making mistakes isn't bad, I just learn from them, but doing mistakes the whole episode long isn't very nice to listen to or to watch. And so, and also for me preventing myself and you from talking bullshit, just to be honest. But let's head to the fifth law, which is so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once you slip, however, you are vulnerable and will be attacked on all sides. Make your reputation unassailable. Always be alert to potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their own reputations. Then stand aside and let public opinion hang them. You know, it's very hard for me to understand these insights. Some of them are just, you know, pretty low level, but the fourth law, for example, is for me on a pretty high level, and it's, you know, I think it's a metaphor for something, but I do not get it, to be honest, really. But if you know what this author is saying, it would be very nice if you just tell the people and me in the comments if you're on the YouTube channel, or DM me or comment on a post on my social media platforms or social media accounts. And all these links are in the video description. Feel free to contact me. And so, and I think in terms of your reputation, is a very powerful tool, because through reputation you can, in terms of habits, you can really change your life. You know, by, for example, starting this video format and or podcast. You know, it really changed my life, and it hopefully changes my life, you know, in the future as well. Also in terms of finances, maybe, and maybe I can, you know, make something great out of this and help a lot of people. And so I think reputation is key. It's key to a lot of things, to a better life, I guess. But let's see what the sixth law stands for. I'm sorry. Court attention at all cost. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen costs for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in a crowd, then or buried in oblivion. Stand out, be conspicuous at all cost. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. And I would say attention is key, especially in marketing, because, you know, through attention you get you know, visitors, and through visitors you may get customers, and maybe then loyal customers, and so on. And at the end, or in some kind of between everything, there might be a sale or not. So for me, attention is very interesting, especially on Instagram, because that's the platform with the best organic reach by now. You know, we will see if they just cut their organic reach as on Facebook, because on Facebook it's about 3% of your followers see your posts, and on Instagram it's still, or should still be, you know, your full you know, your full amount of customers, or sorry, followers. But it's very interesting what people pay attention to on Instagram, or in general social media platforms. And if you know what you know gets attention, you know how to get people to watch your stuff, and so on. And that's something I'm trying to figure out. And that may be a reason for me making some kind of clickbaity titles in my YouTube videos, just to see if this really works, as everybody's talking about or saying. But let's see what the seventh law is about. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Use the wisdom, knowledge and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. A lot of insights from this book seem very negative for me. And I'm just thinking if I should now read something else, because I don't really want to, you know, bring that to you, because I think it's just negative and bad stuff and doesn't seem you and me to get anywhere. But I see what he wants to say with this. This is also something either Dale Carnegie in his book said, or Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, that I think it was Henry Ford, but I don't really remember. But let's say it's Henry Ford. He wasn't the smartest guy, and so he had a lot of people around him with just pretty good skills in different areas of life and or of this market which they were in, which was the automobile market at this time. I think, I'm not sure, and he was like, why should he do it himself when he could, get employees or partners or whatever to do it for him? And so it was just some kind of a debate if he is then intelligent or not. But the thing is, he was intelligent enough to get people to work for him and get his wheels rolling. If this works in English, I don't know. But without being able to do or to know everything and so on. So it's really about knowing, I remember. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not very sure, I have to admit it. But I'll read the 9th law, or the 8th law. Make other people come to you, use bait if necessary. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. When you force the other person to act, it is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous giants, then attack. You hold the cards. I don't know. I really want to do something else with you, but fortunately enough, there is enough time, and maybe we're going to talk about Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which is a book by Travis Bradberry and Sean Greaves, and it is about emotional intelligence. But I'll see which other books are on this website, and maybe we'll actually have to... Oh, this is working, just has to load. And maybe we will then or sometime later will Money Master the Game. I'm very interested in it, and so we're going to see if it's a lot of text, because okay, it is actually okay, but it will take some time to go through. But I think it gives you a lot of value, because Tony Robbins always gives value. But let's see. Tony Robbins isn't the first person you would think about, or you would think would be the one to write a book on money. But on Tim Ferriss' recommendation, I picked up a copy. As a finance major with an MBA to my name, I was skeptical that I could learn much about money from a feelings guru like Tony. It was wrong. This book might have given me more useful lessons in finance than my entire formal education. Tony began building his book by interviewing a litany of investment giants or titans: Warren Buffett, Charles Schwab, Carl Icahn, Ray Dalio, pretty much the entire investing all-star team. Most of us would never get a chance to gain access to any of these masters' knowledge, but Tony used his conversation with all them to synthesize a money manifesto. Money manifesto. Section 1. Welcome to the jungle. The journey begins with the first step. The first step, or the first chapter, is an introduction to classic Robbins psychology. Tony begins by lamenting that money is somewhat of a taboo subject, asserting that money is an essential part of our holistic well-being, and explaining how he went about building the book by interviewing the best of the best. His first conclusion is that it's very difficult to earn enough money through your job to have financial freedom, so you need to save and invest. Develop the mindset of an investor rather than being only a consumer. The only way to overcome ingrained human psychology and actually save is to create a plan and automate your investing. So set up the automatic withdrawals and forget about them. And as I know through my podcast series, Tony has about 45 different streams of income or businesses, which is just amazing. Because, in terms of income streams, the regular person has just one, maybe two, first job or maybe second job, and he has 45. And people say that the average streams of or amount of streams of income for a millionaire are at least, some say 6, some say 4, maybe I'll go with 5. But it's something in between these areas. So like I would say between 4 and 10, could never be too much, I guess, because making a little money out of this and a little out of this, and so and so, and then some, it would be just a little bit. But let's see what section 2 is telling you. Become the insider. Know the rules before you get in the game, because money is such a misunderstood topic, especially by those who think they know what they are doing. Tony goes into the 9 financial myths that have to be busted in order to start building a correct understanding of how money works. The first myth is the market can be beat. Only a few gifted people can beat the market's returns consistently, and neither you nor your financial advisor are one of them. Less than 4% of actively managed mutual funds beat the market, which is far, far worse than a coin toss. You're much better off buying passively managed index fund, which simply matches the overall market. Okay. The second myth, people are telling the truth about fees. The average cost of owning a mutual fund is 3.17% a year when you include all the hidden fees, expense ratio, transaction costs, cash drag, unseen taxes, etc. That may not sound like much, but for each 1% increase in fees, 20% of the final value of the typical retirement portfolio is eaten away. The end result is that even though the percent looks small, it can result in literally most of your savings ending up in someone else's pocket. Again, investing in an index fund with fees around 1% will make an enormous difference in your financial storehouse. Okay. The thing is, I don't really get a lot out of this because I'm not in the space of investing in stocks and funds and so on. But it's interesting to hear that, this, because I think he knows what he's talking about. And there might be people out there who needs just this right now. Maybe you, maybe the person next to you, I don't know. And I think talking about money is something good. Because, in society, or in my society, some kind of people do not really talk much about money. It's not something like a taboo, but, people just do not talk about money. I don't know why. But let's see what the third myth, and by the way, if you are interested in the 48 laws of power, just comment down below and DM me, and then I will decide if I just, let it be it, and or just see if it's just me thinking about it negatively and not actually the text being negatively, because it's just, just my point of view on this text or this article, I think. But anyways, people are telling the truth about returns. A core truth about investing is that it is much more important to avoid losses than to get gains. Why? If you have $100 in your portfolio and you lose 50%, the first year you then have $50. If you then gain 50% in the second year, you end up with only $74. Your average time-weighted return was 0% up 50%, then down 50%. But your real dollar weighted return was negative 25%, which which type of returns do you think mutual funds like to report? Which is interesting because of this example, you see that what some small percentages or even high percentages in terms of the gain, so the 50% gain will make out of your set how should I say of your set amount of money, which I mean as the $100. The fourth myth: your broker is on your side. Most brokers are perfectly good and honest people. However, most of them also probably don't understand the three myths we've just covered. On top of that, the broker model is a serious conflict of fiduciary duties. Your broker has a responsibility to increase your money as well as a responsibility to increase his company's money, and the two duties are mutually exclusive. A much better decision is to go with a registered investment advisor, which is an RIA, who gets an annual fee from you rather than commissions from the mutual funds to manage your investments. Go to the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors or Stronghold Financial website to find an RIA, which then seems to be like, the more money he makes, this RIA, the more money he gets out of it. And so, he will work just better or harder or maybe smarter than the other one, who gets his fees anyways. The fifth myth: your 401k will set you up for retirement. In my mind, before I read this book, I had a mental image of the 401k as some kind of timeless bastion of classic investment best practice. Not so, the 401k is a failed social experiment that has only been around for 30 years. The unique bull market conditions of the 80s and 90s blinded society to a point where we believed that the 401k system was effectively setting people up for retirement. But with the recent financial crisis, it became more apparent that the system is a failure. The factors listed in myths 1 to 3 severely limit the growth of your retirement portfolio, and taxes on withdrawals will slash or nest egg further. On top of that, the 401k doesn't do anything to protect against the unfortunate retirement timing that left many people with a fraction of the savings after the financial crisis. Hopefully, you've already avoided the traditional 401k or IRA in favor of a Roth. In order to solve the tax problem, you can use an IRA instead of a 401k to avoid the factors in myths 1 to 3. But IRAs have much lower contribution limits and don't let you take advantage of matching contributions from your employer. Tony recommends that you go to the online fee checker here, which will show you how much you're really paying in fees in your company's 401k, and then approach your employer with the results. Because of a new law passed in 2012, employers are legally required to compare the 100k plans to make sure the fees are reasonable. Hopefully, this combination of information will be enough to convince your employer to consider everything low-cost index funds in your plan. And I think the sixth and last myth, and there is hopefully a lot more, not just talking about stocks and so on, or investing, but this might be also interesting in terms of maybe real estate, because I don't have any clues about stocks. So by now it's not that interesting or valuable to me, but maybe to you. But let's see. Target date funds are a good way to allocate your investments. Since ordinary investors have no idea how to diversify their investments, many choose a target date fund where the mix of investments changes based on their age. The point is to get higher returns when you're young and can afford more risk, and then to preserve your capital when you're getting closer to retirement typically less in stocks and more in bonds. And while it's a helpful idea in the theory, the experts who put these plans together operate under two gravely mistaken assumptions, and that bonds are safer than stocks and that bonds and stocks move in opposition or opposite directions. We will cover more on that later. And so for now, I have to say goodbye, and I hope there was something in this episode for you. And I really have to remind you again, if you want to hear something about the 48 laws of power, just comment down below or DM me, because, if you're interested in it, I will go through it. And yeah, that's it. I hope you have a real nice day if you're hearing or watching this, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, or the next day, whenever.